bid you welcome to this place. At last, my friends. All of those of you who join us in joyful spirit and anticipation and seeking a place to explore what life is about and what community is about. I am Reverend Israel Baffardi. I use he, him for pronouns, and I am the minister of this congregation. And it is my pleasure to welcome all of you here this morning.
And I am Lenore Bajar-Dukes. My pronouns are she and her, and I serve this congregation as your Director of Lifespan Faith Development. Welcome.
Good morning. I'm Heather Garrick. My pronouns are she and her, and I'm serving as your worship associate today. It's my pleasure to welcome all of you to our building and to this progressive spiritual community where we come together to nourish the spirit, connect in love, and act for justice. At UUCL, as we like to refer to ourselves, love is our only doctrine, and service and justice are our most sacred prayers. So we pray by striving to live lives in words and deeds that affirm that Black Lives Matter. And our doctrine of love has moved us to affirm for decades that love is divine and love is what makes a family.
We gather here together in community because we know deeply, deeply in our hearts that we need each other, my friends. And we gather here in a Unitarian Universalist community because we recognize that the truths of the universe are far too complex to be summed up in any one tradition's dogma, or even in one religion itself. So whether you believe in the healing power of nature, the transformative power of love, the fierce call of justice work, the enlightening discoveries of science, whether your preferred prophets and wisdom teachers transmit their messages via papyrus scrolls, social media scrolls, guitar solos, or memes involving the most sacred and ancient feline image. Whether this traditionally ornamented sanctuary that we gather in feels like home, or whether perhaps it feels a little bit stuffy to you, or whether your truth is a complex one not yet named in this space. Whether you are crying out for the first time in this sanctuary, you are welcome here. You of all ages. We hope here that you'll find undiscovered beauty in every moment, that you'll find questions to expand your mind, community to warm your heart, and inspiration that will awaken your soul.
We especially welcome anyone who's new or newish and still trying to figure out how to dip their toes in the water. We know that coming to a place like this can be intimidating, but we're so glad you're here. You're welcome to join us after the service for social hour outside in front of the building. We also invite you to fill out a welcome card found in your pew and drop it in the plate during the offering. In fact, if anyone is looking to get involved or wishes to share their time or talent in a new way, we welcome you to write it down on one of the slips of paper in the pew and drop it in the offering plate.
And let's take a moment to marvel in gratitude at the many sacred spaces that we are able to gather together in at this very moment. So we bid welcome to those here in this sanctuary. We bid welcome to those who are in your homes, in this familiar Zoom worship space right now. Welcome to those watching the live stream now or later on Facebook or YouTube. And as we have done in our Zoom worship services, let's take a moment now to share a wave both online and in this sanctuary with each other. Let's maybe turn around and wave to the camera, everybody. And I think that our Zoom folks are waving back. Good morning. Just as we welcome many different spaces for worship, we know that it takes many different ways to engage in the Spirit. We have so many ways of listening to Spirit. And so we welcome the presence of a hands-on worship table right there at the border between this part of the sanctuary and the Women's Memorial Room. Children are especially welcome to go and select something from that table and work with, and also anybody, any adult who just listens better when you have something to do with your hands. Please, at any moment in this worship service, please use this table and the spaces around it.
So here's your invitation to move if you need to call out if you need to talk back if you need to cry if you need to. People of all ages. To light a candle if you need to. There is a bowl of sand here with some candles for you. If you'd like to get up at any point during the service and you feel like you need to light a candle for yourself, feel free to do so. Normally, you might be used to being told to turn off your cell phones, and I'm not going to tell you to do that. I'm going to tell you to silence them. But feel free to tweet what we say if you need to, or post it on social media if you wish. You're free to take a picture of me and post it on Facebook, but if you take a picture of someone else, please don't post it unless you ask for their permission. We want you to bring your whole selves here. Not just your buttoned-up Sunday best. Not just the spiffed-up idea of your best version, unless that's who you want to be today. So welcome home.
As we prepare ourselves to enter into sacred space, we must first acknowledge the history of the land that we are on today. We are gathered on land once inhabited by people known as the Susquehannock and Conestoga people, who were forcibly removed and killed by white European settlers. This land carries their memory, and we remind ourselves to live humbly in relation with this land and with all of the indigenous peoples still living and loving on this continent. Earlier, the children and their families gathered and lit a chalice in faith development. We now use that light to light the church's chalice. For those of you joining from home, we invite you to light your chalice. I now invite us to enter into sacred space as Lenore lights our chalice, beloved symbol of our Unitarian Universalist movement. And so we gather from the ebb and flow of our lives, thirsty for connection to ourselves, thirsty for connection to others, thirsty for connection to the larger life. As we light this chalice, may all who gather here be filled with joy and hope, filled with compassion and love. Here, may we be filled so that we may pour ourselves out into the world.
May it be so. We are here together in this very holy and special and beautiful moment. And though it has taken a while, we are grateful for the winding road that brought us to this place and made us who we are and helps us become who we must become. We have a song for you that maybe some have heard before and maybe some are hearing for the first time, and Eli is going to teach us how to sing it. And you have lyrics. You should have lyrics amongst you.
Good morning. For those who don't know me, I am Eli Sauls. I'm the choir director, music coordinator, and kind of tech mediator, I guess, is the term I've kind of given it. I help out with our wonderful tech crew who's in the back, so special thanks to them. Here Together. This arrangement is by David Glasgow. It's a wonderful arrangement. The choir is not up here, but with you. Let this be a reminder that you don't need to be in the choir to sing, and please sing when you feel invited. I'm going to model the verse one time through. The choir will join me. You may join me, and then we will have harmony the third time through. We are here together in this holy moment, and we're grateful for this winding road that brought us to this place. Now everyone, we are here together in this holy moment, and we're grateful for the winding road that brought us to this place. One more time, here we go. We are here together in this holy moment, and we're grateful for the winding road that brought us to this place. Great job. Thank you.
So now that you are here and we are here together, we know that it comes with all sorts of complex feelings, probably, being back together. Some of you who have been joining us on Zoom, and some who maybe not so much because you found it challenging or difficult to connect that way, or it just didn't work for you. And some of you have been joining on Zoom and you found that incredibly connective, incredibly beautiful. And you were able to connect in ways that you didn't even realize, in new and intentional ways. And some of you started joining on Zoom and have never met the rest of these folks, and some of you have known each other for a long time. We are here together in this sanctuary, which has meaning for us. It has meaning to be together in person in this room. And for a moment, I just want to reflect on what it means to be together in a sanctuary, and why that matters. Why it matters that we are able to be here together in person. So the word sanctuary, where it first, one of the places where it first appears in the Tanakh, the Hebrew Bible, is in the book of Exodus, when the Jewish people have fled from their place of bondage in Egypt, and they had a very big to-do. We talked about that a few weeks ago during Passover. Very big to-do getting out of there. Lots of stuff, lots of intervention from a divine force and all that kind of thing, and it was hard and challenging and stressful. And they finally got out, and they found themselves in the middle of a desert with no water, no food, uncertain of where they were going or what they were going to do. And their divine, in the story, tells one of them to build for me a sanctuary that I may dwell among them. The God in the story tells the people to build a sanctuary so that it, the divine source of love and creation, may dwell among them. Now, why am I talking about this? Because that place where it was built was not, the divine in the story did not say, build me a building so that I may dwell in the building. It said, build me a sanctuary so that I may dwell among them, as in the people, as in the gathered people. And the thing that was built was a portable thing that could be moved around. It wasn't stationary. And they brought it as they wandered around, uncertain of where they were going or what their destiny would be. And that thing that was built, the sanctuary, was called the Ark of the Covenant. Now, this is a story. I don't expect you to believe all the details or even believe that it happened. It's a story, it's a parable for us today. Meaning that it was the dwelling place of their commitments to be with each other, through thick and thin, through difficulties, wandering in the desert, uncertain of where they were going. And it was not a building, but a movable thing that they could carry amongst them as a reminder of what their commitments were to each other. We said at the beginning of the pandemic, or you might have heard, that the church or the congregation is not a building. It is you, the people, and it is your commitments to one another. But in the original story, it does eventually become a building. It becomes a temple, and that becomes a pretty important place in the story. And so I struggled when thinking about this a little bit of why this building is so important to so many of you. It is beautiful to many of you. Many of you wish to preserve it for its beauty and for its meaning and for its historical value. But not everybody thinks it's beautiful completely. There are some things about it that aren't beautiful. Or maybe it's because it's the gathering place where we come together. Because you really just wanted to be able to be in each other's physical presence, to remind each other of your commitments. Okay, but some of you met in parks and each other's homes and in coffee shops and things like that, so you could have gathered with each other somewhere else. You didn't have to gather here. But then I thought, what may make this place truly special to all of you, to us? The reason that it is so special and why it is so meaningful to be in here. Because this place carries a memory. It carries, whether or not you are coming in here for the first time or not. It carries a history, a memory of what Unitarian Universalism is all about. But more importantly, it carries the memory of all the people who have come before in this space. All of the imperfect people who came before in this space, who lived and loved, many who passed away, many who are no longer here with us today. And those memories echo on deeply and profoundly amongst you. And that is the meaning of this space, I think. And that is why it is so profound to welcome new people into it, too. That is why it is so profound for me to be here as part of that memory, that living memory. And so this morning, as we gather in this place for the first time in a while, we call into our presence the memory of all of those who have come before. All of those who have been in this room and all of those who you have loved in your lives who have come before, who maybe never have been in this room, but whose presence and whose memory and whose love and complexity you carry with you into this room. So on this morning, we remember the power of what it means to be in sanctuary with one another. And we remember those people, and I will light a candle for all of them and for all of you who are here. That is placed next here to our tree of life. And I invite you to join in singing with me number 123 in the gray hymnal, Spirit of Life.
Spirit of life, come unto me, sing in my heart all stirrings of compassion, blow in the wind, rise in the sea.
past 2 years, a little bit less than that actually, since I started, we had 23 people sign our membership book and become members of this congregation. Yeah, you can clap for that. Meaning that indeed the church, the congregation, the sanctuary is not a building, it is the people, and it keeps on going. Even through something that may have been incredibly challenging to how we gather. And many of those people did not get to be introduced to the congregation formally and in the presence of everyone gathered so that we could welcome them together. And so today we are going to welcome them here. Some of them you may know already because they've been a part of our community for a while. You may have even done things with them. We come together to discover something that is beautiful and divine that moves amongst us in our commitments with one another. To discover something that is greater than ourselves. That's what it means to join a community, a spiritual community like ours. And also because making it alone is hard stuff. Life is hard. For the place where we gather, I often have referred to it as our well of community. This is a metaphorical explanation of what we gather at. It is the place where we bring all of the complexities of who we are. And the water itself is the thing that holds all of those things, the universal solvent that can hold all of the complexities that we bring. The water, in fact, is you. It's the community itself. And at the beginning of our programming congregational year, we often have a water ceremony where we join all of our waters in a well together, symbolizing our coming together and our strength, because water is an incredibly powerful thing. It can carve out mountains. And so we gather around this, our well, today, to remind us of who we are and what our strength is as a community. So I'm going to invite our new folks to come up so we can meet them, those who are here. And the ones who are gathered on Zoom will be spotlit for those of you on Zoom to see as well. There's a couple joining on Zoom today. So when you folks are ready, I invite you to come up, those of you who are here who wish to come up. You can come stand around here.
Was there anybody here before? Is there anybody here before?
So you folks are gathered here at our well of community, the place that you have joined, the place where all of who you are can be held. And that is our commitment to you, for you to be able to bring your whole selves to this well, to us, and have your whole self honored and held and seen in this space. And if you look deep into the well, you'll see a bunch of rocks. And those rocks symbolize everything that you bring, your complex truths, the joys, sorrows, complexities of your life, the ways that you need to be held, and the ways that you wish to celebrate with others, and the ways that you wish to make sense of all that life brings. And so, the water, I'm going to invite you to, if you wish, to join some water into our well and to join a rock. If any of you brought a rock or water from with you, you're welcome to do that. And if not, we have some stones and water here for you. And one more time, the water is the symbol of holding each other, So when we come here, we bring our water first because we recognize that we need the strength of community to hold all that we bring. And this is your commitment, our commitment, to hold you in love. And the stones are symbolic of your invitation to bring even the hard parts, the heaviness, and the solidness of your own life so that it can take form before us and make sense for all of us together. So I invite you to do that. And would you hold the stones for them? And Lenore, would you hold the water or hand them the water? And if you want to pass those around.
Are folks on Zoom, are they going to be also?
Yeah, and thank you for the reminder. The folks who are joining on Zoom, we welcome you to do this on Zoom if you like. So you are joining your water to the water that we have from our water ceremony as well. That's part of this water. It's the water that the rest of the community has brought. While you bring yourselves to our well and join our community, I'm going to read the names of the people who have signed the membership book in the last 2 years. Some who are here and a few who are not, and some who are on Zoom. So we had Randy Newswanger, Cindy Pollard, Kitty Lepley, Linda Kinney, Debbie Ratas and Bob Ratas, B.B. Farmer, Carol Rapici, Tom Rapici, Michelle Capabianco, Graham Capabianco, Cole and May Capabianco, Carol Myers, George Myers, Suter Hudson, Carol Lieber, Eric Grazia, Brittany Rush, and their daughter, Nora. Andrea Kaufman, Bonnie McDowell. And later today, we will have signing our membership book, Dewan Peterson and her daughter, Sully. And there's one more person. Gosh. Oh, sorry. Okay. Oh, you didn't sign yet? No. Okay, are you going to do that later? Okay. Cynthia, can you tell me your names? Lubier and Mary Lubier. If there's anyone else I'm forgetting, please let me know. And we have one more new person joining us today. You may have noticed we have an accompanist. This is Alan Diamond. Yeah, if you'd like to. We bid you all welcome to this place, and we hope that you find a loving community here to support you and people to help you grow, and people to share all of who you are with. You may be seated when you are ready. We're adding some more water for you folks who are on Zoom too. And so here at our well, we make space for all that you bring. A myriad of experiences that bless and break our hearts. And it is especially so true on this day that was created to honor people who nurture. In this circle of care, we honor the truth that mothering is not bound by one single descriptor. And it cannot even be contained by one gender expression either. That there is no human being on this planet who is not connected to or disconnected from a mother in some way. On Mother's Day, we wish to honor how beautiful and how complex and painful it can be to be a mother or not be a mother, and to be mothered. So we take a moment to call into our space the complexities of this day, to hold some of the things that we may be bringing to this space today. To those who gave birth this year to their first, second, or third, or a child, we celebrate with you this morning. To those who rejoice in the work, the role, the presence of mothering and mothers, we celebrate with you. To those whose mother is or was your best friend, we celebrate with you. To those who are in the thick of parenting children of any age, in a pandemic, we feel your exhaustion and we appreciate you. To those who never wanted to be a parent, we see and acknowledge the love that is already in your life that you give to the world. To those who have or experience loss through infertility or miscarriage, we grieve with you. To those who have lost a child of any age, we mourn with you. To those who made the decision to place children in adoptive care, we honor difficult decisions and we remember how you hold that child in your heart. To those who gladly take advantage of birth control options, we commit ourselves to making sure that they do not go away. To those who have chosen to end a pregnancy, we honor your sovereignty over your own body and your own life. We honor the complexities of choice, and we are not done defending that right. We recognize here that choosing life means caring for the well-being of all of those in our community throughout their lives. To those who have lost their mothers, we mourn with you. To those who have been hurt by their mothers, we love you. To all of those who experience pain or complexity at the marking of this day, we hold you here in this space. To those whose sex or gender says that you are not a mother and yet you take on the role of nurturer, we see you. We need you. To those who nurture other people's biological children, to those who are part of a child's village, to the step-parents, foster parents, adoptive parents, siblings, cousins, mentors, and teachers, we need you and we acknowledge the love that you give. To those who have a warm and close relationship with your own children, we celebrate you. To those who have disappointment, heartache, or distance with your own children, we sit with you today. To those who envisioned lavishing love on grandchildren, and yet that dream is not to be, we grieve with you. But please don't pressure your children too much. To those who will have emptier nests in the upcoming year, we grieve and rejoice with you. To the LGBTQ parents, we celebrate that love is what makes a family. To those who are pregnant or anticipating new life, both expected and surprising, we anticipate with you. And if yours is a different truth altogether, or a complex one beyond words, we honor your unspoken story in this space. We reflect with gratitude today on the wide spectrum of mothering, of mothers, that happens in our lives and in our communities. We cultivate spirit of mothering and nurturing in all of our hearts. So all of us must nurture and love the world and each other. May each of you this morning remember with every breath that you are loved. You are loved, my friends. During the musical meditation, I invite you, if you wish, to come up and put a stone in our well for what you are carrying today.
That was beautiful. A note that the story, the personal memory I'm about to share, involves giving birth. So care for yourselves as you need to. So several years ago, when I was in the hospital at Women's and Babies, working really hard on giving birth to my now toddler, it looked like it was just not going to go the way we had planned. After a long period of pushing and struggling, I had a lot of hopes about how this was going to go, and my friend and doctor just said, you know what, it's time to call the surgeon for a C-section. And I was fine with that. I had made multiple different plans for how this birth would go, and I was just hoping to have it over with and healthy at that point. But I asked them, can I actually see it happening? And they were like, no, you can't see them doing a C-section. And I said, I was really counting on having that mirror there to see the moment where I had a child, because I don't think I'm ready for this. I can't picture it. And now this is after about 36 hours, so I was really strung out, but I grabbed my dad. I remember this was before the pandemic, he was able to be in the room. I grabbed him and I was like, quick, before they take me to the operating table, tell me, what is it like to have a child? What's it like to be a parent? I don't know. And I think I asked him about this recently, and he said, I don't even remember what I told you. I think I just said that you're going to love your child very much, and that, it will be okay, and that you'll grow into it. But that moment of pause just has really stayed with me ever since, because I didn't know. I really didn't know. And part of that is that any big life change, any profound life change, any threshold where life is one way one moment and another way the next is in some ways unknowable. But another part of it is I've realized that I just had not grown up around a lot of people who were raising children around me and talking about what that experience was like for them, enlisting me in the help of doing that with them. I'd babysat before. I had this job. I was with children a lot. But I didn't have that interior experience of what that was like for other people. And I've come to think that that is a wound in our society. I remember after the birth, I had all these photos I was taking of my child, and a lot of thoughts just bubbling up in my mind. I would sit there and nurse or cuddle and think about all of these spiritual revelations that were coming up for me. And I didn't really want to post them anywhere, or I was really hesitant to post the photos on Facebook or to send them to people, especially my friends who I knew who did not have children. I felt like, oh, what if they think I've totally changed? What if they think that I've lost everything that I had cared about before, all of my intellectual passions and the things that made me me? And what if they thought that I had left them behind? And then I realized just how much toxic messaging I had been receiving over the course of my life, not from my church community, not from my family, but just from the wider world about what it means to be a mom. And when I was giving birth, I was emerging into that experience of that word, mother, and part of what was making me so uncertain about how that fit with me was that I didn't know that inner experience. But part of it is that we've got all of these templates out there about what it means. What is that word mother? What does that mean for me? And I didn't consent to a lot of those words and those templates. I didn't say yes to those. I said yes to having a child, but I didn't say yes to losing other aspects of myself. I didn't say yes to being the only one who would be responsible for that child's spiritual growth or emotional health. I didn't say yes to the kind of Mother's Day that sometimes we see in some Hallmark cards and some advertisements where I get put on a pedestal as mom, and then that's it. I'm going to go off and do that work, and everybody else is just going to kind of praise me for it and not really be engaged. And luckily, I do not have that kind of community around me, and I do not have that kind of family expectations, but it still weighed so heavily that it actually wounded the part of me that really wanted to share an enormous spiritual growth experience that I was going through. And I felt that as a wound. And so what I wished more people knew, and what made me feel really angry, was just how much not knowing I had before about how, when having a child, someone can bring all of these skills and passions and loves and aspects of themselves to that new experience, and how profound an experience of spiritual growth it could be. And I also felt that fear and rage of being boxed into that label and nothing else. And so I've been thinking about what it would be like in this, one of our last places of multi-generational intentional community. This community, congregations, the potential that we have to share with one another deeply about what it is like for us, what relationships we have with those words, mother, father, parent, to share what it's like to have those words, those expectations to be that person imposed on us when that's not our life path, and how that feels. And what it's like, what spiritual growth we're having if we are traveling down that path, or if that path has been difficult for us. I got kind of mad about why it was I couldn't imagine this, and I thought we'd sort of stuck child rearing and childbearing into a corner and agreed that the people who were going to be engaged in the business of that, and I also mean teachers and caregivers and nursery workers and grandparents and aunts and uncles, and those people could just go over there and talk about it amongst themselves. That's what they care about, and the rest of us are not going to be engaged in that business. And I was like, no. Because I think another thing that I've seen from people's stories being shared over the past 2 years of the pandemic is just how hard and lonely it is to have the sacred responsibility of raising a human in love, to be a loving and responsible and caring member of a community and of the world, just how difficult that is, especially in such an isolating time as this pandemic. And as a Unitarian Universalist, how much harder when you're trying to build a loving space that goes against so much of the outside culture that tells children that their voices aren't really important, to stop asking questions, that no, your body isn't really your body, it belongs to the adults who might want to scoop you up and give you a hug no matter what you say about it or worse things. And I think that work, that hard work, ought to be celebrated on Mother's Day, on Father's Day, yes. And we should have the chances to, those of us who claim that label, should have the chance to share what that journey, what spiritual gifts that journey has brought us. And those gifts should be valued right alongside the spiritual gifts that other journeys that are not of parenting have brought us. And I also hope that Mother's Day might be a day where we remind ourselves that we need to listen to those who do the hard daily work of growing future collective life, however they label that, to those who honor the original meanings of Mother's Day by working for a more just and safe world for all children and all people. And just to listen to one another's experiences with this fraught holiday. So I'm really excited as a church community that as we're coming back into in-person contact with each other, I'm excited to keep on sharing those stories, hearing from each other what has been sparked in you by your spiritual growth over the last couple of years, whether that's parenting or something else. And I really hope we'll collectively do the work together in one of the last spiritual spaces where we are a community of all ages, of not sticking the parents and the teachers and the faith development volunteers over there and saying, okay, you care about that, that's great, but of making our sanctuary and other spaces a welcoming, open, loving place, because not having that village to call on of people. See, I knew I was going to do this. I told you I was going to do this. It's lonely not to have a village to call on, and it's really beautiful when you do. And I've heard stories from some of you about adults who don't have kids who've reached out and said, can I watch them for a couple hours? Adults connecting in coffee hour, breakout rooms with children, and I just know how important that is. And so let's join together in making this place, this sanctuary, that table over there, our outside spaces, our Zoom spaces, a space where we can live out the work of Unitarian Universalism, and honoring that inherent worth and dignity of every person, and listening to each other's stories across the divides in our larger communities.
And so before we close out our time together today, I just want to take a moment to reflect on all the ways that we support each other in our own community, too. The ways that through this time of being apart physically, you have grown and changed and supported this community to become what it must become today. You are here, but you are not the same you that you were when we left the building. You are here, but you are not the you that left. And this place, even this building, is not the same as it was when you left. You gathered in a new way, you learned new things. New people came in and they brought their new ideas. And you, all along, like I said, the sanctuary, the meaning of sanctuary is not to be a static thing or a building. It is a portable thing that moves through you, that brings your understanding of what is divine and what is sacred, your commitments to each other, amongst yourselves. It is where that lives amongst yourselves when you gather. And so today we're going to take just a moment now to reflect on all the ways that you have sustained this sanctuary for each other. And so you may wonder what you did. And I'll tell you. Some of you called each other and wrote each other cards when you had big life events, joys and sorrows and complex truths. Some of you visited with each other and those who were sick and dying and in need of companionship. Some of you gave rides to those who needed rides. Some of you showed up to tend the gardens here of this building. Some of you showed up to clean our yard and make it a beautiful place. Perhaps you organized an office, a cabinet, or an RE classroom on building care days. You participated in Soul Matters groups. You participated in meaningful discussion around mission and around who we are. You showed up at Pride to represent who we are and what our values are to the community. You attended a vigil or a Black Lives Matter protest to show our commitment to justice. You spread joy to the polls on Election Day. You wrote and sent postcards for UU the Vote. You participated in faith development workshops for all ages. You shared your talent at UUCL Expressions. Some of you taught growing anti-racist UU class. Some of you came for Christmas carols on the sidewalk. Or perhaps you sang with the choir virtually or in person. Maybe you came to an outdoor event, or you attended the General Assembly of the UUA. Or you read the UU Common Read of Indigenous people's history to expand your understanding of the history of this country. You talked about white fragility. Maybe you participated in the tech team that made all of this possible for the last 2 years, and still today. And you worked really, really hard. And we couldn't have done it without you. Maybe you hosted a breakout room. Maybe you learned how to use Zoom. And how to know when to mute or unmute yourself. Maybe you tried to sing a hymn together unmuted on Zoom and realized that that's just not possible. So you sang along on mute at home. Or you lit a chalice. Or maybe you're attending a worship service for the first time today. Or maybe you did something else to support the work of this community. Maybe you took the brave step of checking us out for the first time. We need all of you, all of us, to make this happen. And we are so glad you're here. Give yourselves a round of applause.
We are a community of many different people, and each of us has many different times, treasures, and talents. We invite you to share your time, treasure, and talent as you can. And we recognize that our individual worth and dignity are not measured by the amount of money that we have or give. We honor our own commitment to act for justice by sharing 50% of our offering with The Mix, a local organization that inspires youth and empowers families by running an after-school program and summer day camp for children. We now take an offering as an outward expression of our interdependence. You can support our work as you are able by texting the amount of your donation to 855-927-3685 or through the Contribute tab on our website at UUCLonline.org. Or if you're in the sanctuary, pass the plate.
My friends, our service today has ended, but the work of community and the work of love and the work of justice only just begins when you walk out these doors. When you go from here today, I invite you to remember that each of us is like a newborn baby in this world. We are, all of us, no matter our age, full of potential. totally vulnerable and open to the world, totally needing of the love and compassion and care of others, hungry to discover what it means to be human, and crying out for loving arms to cradle us in love. So may all of you, when you go here today, discover and shape and cradle each other and help others to do the same. Go in peace.
We are here, time together, and these holy moments give us strength to go down the winding road until we meet again. We have spent time together, and these holy moments give us strength to go down the winding road until we time again. And my prayer for you is a peace that's true until
Thank you all.